Hey everybody, it's that time of the year where it should be spring. Technically, it is spring, but it's snowing outside and I'm under a weather advisory, which means I could get up to 12 or 14 inches in the next day. So, hope you guys are prepared for whatever's coming up. We already know there's an eclipse that's going to be coming up soon, but with our drastic weather changes where it may be 70 degrees one day, 20 degrees the next day, or a blizzard, like or weather advisory like what I have right now. Life changes in an instant. So I hope that you're prepared, and I'm just going to go over a few basic things, which I've mentioned before through the years in my videos. But for anyone that's new, thank you for joining me. I hope you'll hit that like button and the subscribe button, share with someone else because it really does help support my channel. It's not like I have a lot of people on here, but I appreciate every one of you that I do have. I am also on other social media accounts, but it's, all under the same name, Danette's Kitchen. Some important things to have for whatever's going to happen with the weather. See, I have my hat on. I like these hats. They're pretty cool. You can get them on Amazon. And none of the things that I show today, I'm not being sponsored by anyone. These are just some things that I've had and that I have built up over time. So just showing because you got to be ready. And I know I've said this for years, but it's always turned out that people needed the things that I was talking about. So I kind of have a little bit of a clue about something because of my own experiences. And that's all I'm doing. Sharing my experiences with you. You can call this for entertainment purposes only, educational purposes, whatever you want to call it. I'm just sharing a little bit of me with you. Snowing outside. Looks beautiful. A couple of days ago, I was walking around with no coat on. Now, we're expecting 12 inches in the next day, 12 to 14 inches. So, I have things like this hat, which I really like this hat. I actually got it from a vendor at work, but then I found out it's also available on Amazon, like I said. Um, what do I like about it? Your own built-in light. You can keep your head warm. You can set the light to 4 different levels, especially if you're out by yourself and it's dark and you're getting out of your car trying to go home or whatever. Think you might hear something? Have a little light on. Some people do the headband lights, which I do have one of those for my e-bike. But this is pretty cool because I was able to get a few of these for family members and help keep more people safe. And one of the nice things about this, you flip it over, take that out, and you can charge it up with a regular charger. Look at that. You can charge it. And I think that's pretty cool. Now, hopefully I put it back correctly so it still works. Yes. Another thing that's good to have, flashlights. Because if you live somewhere where there's a blackout or a brownout situation and the power is lost, it's nice to have a flashlight. If you can't afford a flashlight, you can always go to the dollar store like the Dollar Tree, Dollar General, Family Dollar, Save a Lot, whatever, and get those yard lights. And I'll do another video on how to do that with the yard lights and how to take them apart, connect them to jars, set them in your windowsill, and then you have solar lights that you don't have to deal with getting batteries. This thing uses batteries. So batteries are going to be important if you use that kind. There's also the hand crank flashlight, which is really cool. I have one of those. Mine is actually a hand crank radio emergency flashing beacon. It does a multitude of things. And I got it. I found it on sale for $5. So couldn't beat that price. And it was before before people were really thinking about how serious it could be if there's a power outage. Batteries are an important thing to have, especially for flashlights, or if you go to the dollar store and get those cute taper candles, you're going to need batteries for those to work. What's nice about it is you don't have to worry about plugging it in, but it's another thing that you'll have to dispose of when the power, when the energy is out of that product, unless you get the recyclable kind, which you would have to plug up anyway. Snow and cold weather remind you that you have to have good gloves. My gloves kind of fell apart the other day, so it's time for me to get some more gloves. It's good to have nice wool socks. Well, in my neck of the woods it is. I know some parts of the country are probably so insanely hot they don't know what to do with themselves. But where I live, yes, I need some nice wool socks. Hats. You see I got a hat on my head. I always keep a hat in my car. I keep hats and scarves and gloves and a backup jacket at work because I can go to work and it's warm and I'm in a blue jean jacket. I can get off work and it's freezing. So it's always good to have a backup plan as far as that goes. Also good to have a backup pair of glasses if you need glasses. That's something that I use and it's just important and very beneficial to me. If you have some extra cash on the side, extra cash, it is good to try to save some money, if at all possible. Because I remember when Hurricane Katrina happened and I couldn't get money out of the bank, and I'll share that story another time. It was chaotic though. But you can go to some stores and just walk around and check out, see if there are any sales. Sales 50 to 70% off, sometimes 30%. Usually I find 50 to 70% off, and I can get a bunch of pairs of jeans. Jeans are a good go-to thing for me because that's something that I can have, that I can dress up, dress down, and I can wear in a variety of situations, especially if I need to move a lot, to be active. They've got the stretchy kind that they call jeggings, which is kind of like jeans and leggings, or you can get regular jeans. But I mean, like, the last 4 pairs of jeans that I got, the last 4 pairs, all cost $10 or less per pair. Brand new. And they were not the kind with all those crazy rips and things in it, because I'm old school. I come from the time when you got new pants and jackets and clothes. You didn't want your clothes to be ripped up. You wanted them to look nice. And so the stuff that I get looks nice. And so this is like one of the 4 pairs. Brand spanking new. Tag is still on there. Brand new. And I paid 70% off. No, 60% off this pair. Anyway, I think that's a good price. Other things that you might find helpful to have. Let me preface by saying this. For my birthday, I wanted to do something nice for myself because oftentimes nothing really happens. Or not a lot happens. So I bought myself Stanley Cup. Woohoo. Yeah, I know it's a little spendy. I didn't do it when people were acting crazy and breaking into places and running and jumping. I waited till it was not very popular anymore, which was around my birthday. And so I bought a 2-pack. Stanley Cups. Had one a week ago. Coffee in it. Went to church. After church, came home, brought in my groceries, forgot the cup out in the car in the cup holder. Thought about it an hour later. Oh yeah, I left my cup out there. Went back out to get my cup. My car door is open. car had been broken into. Long story short, what did they steal? My Stanley Cup. Because there was nothing else in there to take except for the Bible and some children's church activities, which obviously they weren't interested in. And that stuff was in the trunk. So there was nothing visible for them to take except for the Stanley Cup, which is crazy to me. But obviously, it's still really a thing. Kind of sucks though, because I tried to treat myself to something nice because I do like my coffee. Anybody's been watching me long enough or know me well enough know that I like my coffee. But oh well. I still have the other cup that came in the set, and I will make sure to not leave it out in the car. And it's not like one of those ridiculously big ones that make you feel like you're carrying, a 2 liter of pop around or something. It's a normal size, the 20-ounce Stanley Cup. That's what they stole. Maybe they sold that used Stanley Cup. Maybe they kept it for themselves. I don't know. I just thought it was bizarre. But with that happening and me getting as hysterical as I did when I went outside and saw my car door open, one guy being the lookout and the other one taken off with my cup, I started saying, I don't know what you guys are doing. There's cameras all around here, which there are. There are a lot of homeowners and apartment dwellers that have cameras all over, facing outside at the street. So that's my next thing for me to let y'all know about today is be prepared by do yourself a favor and get some cameras. Because folks are acting crazy over Stanley Cups and anything that they think they might be able to get. I'm not going to get into a long drawn out conversation about the border or about all these people and encampments, and I see all this stuff. This stuff is happening around my area. So yes, I see it. I know that it's there. Protect your own interests. That's all I'm saying. So some things that I've done for myself is like having doorbell camera, which goes off every time somebody goes by. It works. Daytime, nighttime, whatever, it works. And it does notify me fast. So, very good investment. Off of, well, you don't even know where it came from, but that's a very good investment. The second thing that I did was I got one of these little mini cams that I could charge up. And then when I unplug it, I have it set to motion detected, and it has a clip on it, and I can put it in a secure location in my home, somewhere where it's not so noticeable, but it will pick up anything coming by, and it does work well in the dark as well. So that was a very good buy. This was, I paid about $10 for this. Very much worth it. My doorbell camera, paid probably 30 something on sale, and I got the wraparound piece to fit on the door so that it can't just be ripped off like you see in a lot of these videos where someone video records people that are stealing packages. I used to have problems with people taking my packages, ripping them open to see what was in them, and then leaving the things that they didn't want. But when you've got something that's detecting their every move, people don't bother your stuff. So I do like that one for the door. I do like this one for inside my home. If something happens where there's some emergency where someone has to come into my home because of, I don't know, fire, flood, whatever, it's going to pick up whoever was in there saying that there was an emergency, so they had to enter my home. Third one that I got more recently is this one. And they're all different companies that I got these from, but they all work very well. This one is a Wise. It's got the nice little stand that comes with it, and this one plugs in. So I'd have to I affix it to its location, and I have it plugged in, and it catches everything, and I can adjust, you know, and move it so that the camera is setting directorially however I need for it to set. I like it. So I've got the Wise Cam, I've got the Blink, and this one I don't even remember what it was called, but I think this was actually the first one that I got, and I am still extremely impressed with it, but I can't find it anymore. I know I got it off of Amazon. I can't find this particular brand anymore, but I know I paid about $10 for it, and it was very good. It works extremely well. So, security is very important. Thank you for joining me today. I'm going to go over one more thing, and then I'm going to let y'all go for today. We have, I don't know if you've been paying attention to what the FEMA and all the powers that be, what they've been saying, what's been reported out on the news and on websites, and they give you little bits of information to prepare you for what's coming, but they don't say it in a way that sounds alarming, so people usually aren't really focusing on stuff a lot. Then when everything kind of goes kablooey, like it did a few years ago when the Rona showed up, people don't have food. They don't have kitty litter or whatever they may need to get through the situation. Like for me, when that happened a few years ago, it was at the same time. There were two things going on at the same time. There was the Rona, and there was civil unrest. And with the Rona, I ended up catching that and getting very, very, very sick. Like, wasn't sure how long I was going to be around sick. It got that bad. And with the civil unrest, I just had to get my to-go bag and get out of town, literally, for 3 days, to come back to seeing a lot of waste and destruction that had happened. But that's why it's important to have that bag ready, because if something happens really quick, you need to be ready to really get out of there really quick. If you got a pet, throw that pet in the carrier, get out of town. Get out of Dodge, seriously, really quick. If another pandemic or whatever happens, like when the pandemic happened and we were going through tests, they were testing us at work, test. And I hated it. Having somebody coming and sticking things up your nose, and then I get that call while I was at home from the health department. You have, yeah, I had the Rona. And I said, that's not funny. I thought they were joking, but clearly they were not. And over the course of the next 4 weeks, it got worse and worse, progressively worse. And with me already having, compromised immune system, and my asthma can get really bad, it just made it 10 times worse. Only difference is that I couldn't go anywhere, and the health department wanted to know if they needed to have someone to bring in some food for me. And that was the one thing that I could say was, no, I'm prepared, because I have been prepared. If you've been watching my show for any amount of time, you know that I dehydrate half of everything that I have, So if I go shopping and get a bunch of fresh stuff, half of it is for the refrigerator. The other half is to be dehydrated and to be put back for a time of great need. And at this point, if you've been watching me, even if you've just been saving up like a bag of noodles or something every week, or a bag of rice or some dried beans or whatever, you should be pretty set. If you've been doing that every time you go to the store, just take the time to get one or two things just to put back. Get a large, go to the hardware store, get large food grade buckets. You don't have to rip all your stuff out of the packaging. Just drop it. Just drop it right in the bucket and fill it up so you have a bucket full of beans, a bucket full of rice. We'll do another episode so I can explain about that and how to flash freeze your rice and all of that to be prepared for everything. But today I got a bunch of these because I'm someone that likes pickles and sauerkraut and all that, because the vinegar actually does help the body a little bit. So when you're done with whatever you have, thoroughly clean those containers out. If you have a dishwasher, super. You can run it through the dishwasher and sterilize it too. Or I can show you how to do things on the stove so that way that they're still sterile. And get the labels off of it so it's nice and clear. Then these I can tear open and I'll put the noodles in there. So an entire jar will be full of the egg milk ribbons, the extra wide yolk-free ribbons, or sometimes I have egg noodles. These don't really have egg in it. So fill an entire container of that. I have a bunch of plastic containers, which sometimes I would get from places that get their food supply, and then they have that and they're ready to toss it. So I get those, clean them in the plastic ones and sterilize them as big as that. And then I'd order food for my cat and I'd get a supply from one of those online vendors, because you can get a large amount and then you can take it and you can separate it into multiple smaller containers, so that way you can see how the food is being used, and you can be prepared for whatever the next event is that comes up. Another thing I do, it's heavy, is to save money, because kitty litter, everything is going up. If you get it in the reclosable bag, you can get it at more of a discount. Like, this is the same amount for $11 as what I would get in the hard plastic container for $15 or $20. But this is a Target brand. I cut these bags open and I pour this into the harder container, because once you have the hard container, once you have one, you can reuse it. It's not like I'm putting food in there. All I'm using it for is the kitty litter, and I use the same kind of kitty litter each time. But those are some things that I think are really helpful, especially during times like this when we don't know what the next shoe is that's going to drop. The wind is blowing really hard. I keep looking up because I see all the snow blowing past my window. Weather's getting kind of wild out there. So, time to get your stuff together. Get rid of stuff that you have that you don't use and you don't need or doesn't fit anymore. Stop holding on to stuff that you absolutely cannot use anymore. Just stop. And if you're making an excuse that, oh, I'm going to donate it, either you donate it or you just get rid of it. Because if it's taking up space and is of no real use, why do you have it? It just doesn't make any sense. So I hope you all are prepared or still actively preparing. They're saying that something might happen with this solar eclipse. We've never had weird issues with solar eclipse before, but the fact that they keep saying that people should have several days worth of food because something might happen. Somebody knows something that they're not saying. That's all I'm saying. And so we have to take those little tips and clues and get our stuff together for our own sake. Can't sit around and rely on everybody to do everything for you, because if you do, you're going to get your feelings hurt in many cases. So be aware, be prepared. Even the birds and the squirrels and the raccoons that drive me nuts out here, they know something's up because they know when the weather is changing. They can feel it. Vibration is a big deal. They can feel all of that, and they know when they need to make a nest, hide, or go somewhere else. And if you haven't seen it yet, I have a book. I don't have it close to me. There's a movie that's been out on Netflix for a while, I guess, called Leave the World Behind, which I have not seen yet. I have the book, and I think the book is a little bit more of an Easter egg in explaining things. So I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail because I would love it if people would just watch for themselves or read it for themselves and see what they get out of that. Because it's clearly explaining that there's stuff that's planned. There is an agenda that's planned that will happen, and it's theatrical, but there's a lot of truth in the things that we're being shown. It's hidden in plain sight. That's all I gotta say. Lastly, I know I said that the other thing was the last thing, but Life Straw. I don't know if you have a Life Straw, if you've seen Life Straw. I've talked about it before here. It's a really good thing to have in case you're somewhere and the water supply gets compromised. If you're outside and you need water, you can suck through this, and it removes most of the pollutants through this. So this is like a prepper bag thing for me. It didn't cost much, and part of the money was donated to nations where the water supply is extremely compromised. So I personally like that. I also use a Berkey at home because sometimes the water in my area just doesn't taste very good. It's questionable. So I do prefer the Berkey. I enjoy it. And I know some people have very strong opinions about using Berkey, but I think it's a great product. It's spendy, but it's worth it to have fresh water, to have all those added crazy pollutants removed from the water. It's definitely worth it, in my opinion. But if you like drinking a lot of plastics and other things, because there are plastics that you are consuming small amounts of plastics when you have bottled water, in my opinion. You can believe whatever you want to believe. If you're drinking a can of pop, you're having plastics too, because there's a way that can be, the metals can be dissolved down and you can see where the plastics are on that can. It's real. You're getting plastics. If you're eating shredded cheese, you're getting some plastics in that too. You want good healthy cheese, get the block of cheese and shred it yourself. But if you're purchasing it and it's already shredded, you're getting plastics. I think I've talked enough for now. Thank you for joining me. And I hope that you're treating yourself good and you're not cheating yourself. I hope that you're keeping your eyes open and your head up and you're looking around you and seeing the changes and the things that's going on all around. Don't get caught up in popularity. Be more focused on what you need to do to have your stuff together. Because this world is crazy. It just is. And a lot's going on. And I think it's going to be a pretty wild summer. So, talk to you soon. I'm going to do something with my locks and get ready for the next adventure.